Okay, so let's talk about sneakers. And I mean, really talk about them. Because this isn't just about what you put on your feet. No way. This is about a global culture, a massive market, and for a whole lot of people, an object that's way more like a piece of art than just something you wear. Just look at this number for a second. $50,000. And I know what you're thinking, right? For one single pair of shoes? It sounds completely insane. But for this huge global community of collectors, people we call sneakerheads, the answer to that question is a definite yes. You see, in their world, a shoe is never just a shoe. It can be a piece of history, a financial asset, and honestly, a huge part of who they are. So how did we even get here? I mean, how did a simple piece of athletic gear morph into this massive cultural phenomenon that commands these crazy high prices? Well, it really all boils down to a couple of key moments that just changed the game forever. It all started to bubble up back in the 70s in New York City. You had b-boys and the absolute pioneers of hip-hop who started rocking brands like Adidas and Puma, giving sneakers their first real dose of street cred. But then 1985 happened. Nike signed this rookie basketball player you might have heard of, Michael Jordan, and the Air Jordan 1 just completely turned the industry on its head. By the 90s, the whole thing had gone global, with this huge, dedicated following in places like Japan. And that pretty much brings us to today, where this hobby has fueled a secondary market worth billions and billions of dollars. And that history brings us to right now, to the modern era, where the entire sneaker world just operates on this frantic, relentless schedule. It's all driven by hype, and you gotta know, its own very specific language. So first, you gotta know the lingo. The absolute ultimate prize for any collector is their grail. You know, like the Holy Grail. This is that one shoe, that perfect, maybe even unattainable shoe that they want more than anything else in the world. The whole culture, I mean the entire culture, revolves around something called the drop. This is the official release day for a new sneaker. It's a huge event, usually with super limited quantities available, and that scarcity is exactly what fuels all the excitement. And the whole point of every drop, the mission, is to cop a pair. That means you actually did it. You managed to buy them, beating out maybe thousands of other people, not to mention all the automated computer bots who are all trying to do the exact same thing at the exact same second. It's a genuine victory. And this slide right here, this gives you a sense of just how fast this world moves. This is a release calendar for one single month. You've got these huge collaborations. You've got retro releases, iconic pairs, all dropping within just weeks of each other. It's this constant cycle, and it really never stops. All of this hype, all these drops have created this massive financial engine. Get this. Back in 2021, the sneaker resale market, that's the secondary market, was estimated to be worth $10 billion. $10 billion! And believe me, it has only gotten bigger since then. Okay, so we've seen the culture, we've seen the money, but all of that is about the finished product, right? The shoe in the box. Let's pull back the curtain a little bit. What does it actually take to make one of these super coveted pairs of shoes? This diagram here gives us a fantastic bird's eye view of that whole journey. It starts with raw materials, literally pulled from the earth, then goes through all the manufacturing and shipping, all the way to its final resting place, which for most sneakers, let's be honest, is a landfill. So let's just walk through that real quick. It starts with fiber production, so getting raw stuff like cotton or crude oil. Then that material gets spun into fabric. After that comes dyeing and finishing, and this is a huge step. It's what gives the shoe its signature colors, but it's also one of the most chemically intensive and water-intensive stages of the whole process. Finally, all the pieces are assembled, they're shipped all over the globe to be sold, worn, and then, eventually, thrown out. And here's the thing, every single step in that process we just walked through has a cost. And I'm not just talking about the price tag at the store. I'm talking about a hidden environmental footprint. This chart shows us exactly where the biggest damage happens. See, a major study of the industry found that the environmental hotspots, the real problem areas, they aren't in the final assembly like you might think. The biggest impacts actually come from those very first stages, the dyeing and finishing and the fiber production. So what kind of impacts are we actually talking about here? Well, the study measured them across 5 major areas. Greenhouse gas emissions that are driving climate change, huge amounts of freshwater withdrawal, negative impacts on human health, damage to the quality of our ecosystems, and of course, the depletion of natural resources. This creates this really fascinating, almost jarring contrast in how we define what value even means. In the collector's world, a dead stock shoe, which means it's perfectly new, never even been tried on, that's the most valuable thing you can have. But the process of creating that unworn object generated a ton of greenhouse gas emissions. The hype that drives that crazy demand also drives massive freshwater withdrawal. And the value of a limited edition pair? It comes from rarity, a concept that is directly tied to resource depletion. Two completely different ways of looking at the same object. The authors of the report that looked into all this, they put it pretty bluntly. They said, the relationship with fashion in our modern lives has had a collateral and significant impact on our planet's resources. That's a really powerful statement, and it leaves us with this crucial question that we kind of have to think about. When a passion, a hobby, a culture that we love has a truly global footprint, who is it that ultimately pays the price?